If you want to say anything directly to any camera, this is your camera over here. That one there. But all
3, 2, 1, let's roll.
Are we actually rolling?
No, I don't know.
You're the boss, mate. You tell me. Guys, welcome back to episode 4 of, wait 1 second, Project 23. We have an iconic bank robber. But no, we got Jeffrey Morgan here. Thanks for coming, bro.
Thanks for having me, my brother.
Bro, you're a legend, man.
Oh, I appreciate that comment, and mate, I love what you do too.
So how you been, bro? You been all right?
Been productive, busy.
Yeah.
About to head back overseas again. Get to do a lot of workshops over there, and obviously travel in amongst that, and trying to catch up to your YouTube page, my brother. And you know, obviously a couple of the boys doing good things. I think YouTube's in its infancy in Australia, and I think there's huge opportunities. So going down that path and see where it takes us.
Are you gonna vlog?
I've already started. I actually bought the stick. You ever seen those? You can shout me out, Osmo, DJI,
Yeah.
the little pocket rockets.
Yeah.
Just carry them around, you flip it. It's easy to use. And
So it's a new the little vlog one where the
Yeah.
camera flips up?
yeah, you just basically turn it and it opens up, and it can either be YouTube, or you can flip it in the same scene.
Vertical.
Yeah, and it's just, mate, priceless. $1,200 for the content creators pack. Off we go.
We live in an interesting time. So we'll just have a little chat before the podcast, and I've realised when I booked your flights yesterday that you're the same age as my mum.
Wow.
And she's smoking ciggies every day, having a drink every day. So you're looking a lot healthier than my mum.
Right.
But you're also you're talking to me about Osmo, the little capture cams and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
That opens it right up. What inspires you to be on social media and be creating content at your age?
I think the biggest thing is when I grew up, there wasn't social media, and now, you know, there was health issues. My brother's sister committed suicide. Both parents had cancer. Brother lung cancer, another one preventable health issue. And for me, you know, growing up in an Aboriginal community and the health issues we had there, I started to create something that I could help people with within the community. And as I did that, I realised I started doing these corporate programs, wellbeing and leadership programs across the world, and mental health. And I realised it wasn't just us as a community that had health issues or problems or thoughts or whatever it was. And you know, obviously to be able to share something that helps somebody step away from thinking about bad things or sitting within their own prison of life around their thoughts, their behaviours, their beliefs, it's priceless. So get out there and share that and see people, break away from those shackles that are holding them back, and that's priceless, brother.
Bro, that's very deep, straight up, and that's kind of hit me a little bit because I suffer from anxiety. I think everyone in life right now, a little bit of anxiety comes up, depression, whatever it is. And you saying that you're creating programs, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. I'm not actually too familiar with exactly what you do, but to be understanding social media and pushing that message on there, man, fucking hats off to you. And we need more people in the world exactly like you and what you're doing. We're going to learn more about that. Yeah.
A lot of it's, you got to think of it too. Like a lot of us have, especially men, pride and ego gets in the way. I don't need help. I'm sweet.
Yeah.
And then they check out from this planet. My brother was one of those people. And you know, for us, especially you with your profile, it's like, oh, I'm okay. Life's good. But we all have that anxiety around whatever it is that we go into. I call it the 99.9% rule. Write it out 10 times around what you're overthinking and then what actually happened, and compare the two, and you realise most of the time the anxiety we have is just a thought that doesn't become a reality. And if you write that out, see that pattern of behaviour, you can shift that. And that's that 99.9% rule that people can use and step away from. Swap the words, swap the actions. So instead of saying you're anxious, tell yourself you're excited by the opportunity. And I think on a day like Anzac Day today, and even more so, the fact that we've got life and an opportunity that some others didn't get.
Yeah. I think I need to sign up to your program because sometimes you feel so alone.
And that's the biggest thing. I think, realistically, everyone could sign up to my program.
Yeah.
right? And like, especially we started one where there's a men's group, Primal Warrior, and for us, that's an opportunity for men to come in, be vulnerable, not be judged, and just be you. Look,
Yeah.
I am anxious, I am nervous, I don't know where I'm headed, I'm lacking direction. That was me as a kid, man. I was
Yeah.
byproduct of the environment. And if your environment is stress or as you said, anxiety, why is that coming up? How can we shift and change that?
Yeah.
And that's what we sort of do as build better humans as a business. And for me, it's a priceless opportunity. It could save, change, or redesign or realign somebody's life. And how much is that worth, brother?
Bro, I'm fucking already. Like, I don't know what's going on, but you're a fucking no. You're a good dude, straight up. Let's get into. I'm sitting here having a conversation with you, and we all need to work on ourselves. So I'm sitting here listening to you, and almost going, "Fuck, I need to like sign up to your program and start working on it." But you just touched on being you're a product of your environment. So when you're a kid, let's go back to when you were a kid.
Yep.
And Jeffrey Morgan, you're a kid. What's it look like?
The hardest thing for me, I look back on it now, and I was unconscious. I was a young kid. I just rolled with the punches. Parents were dysfunctional between one another. Dad was a huge gambler. Mother was an alcoholic. And, I look back on that, thought that they didn't love me, care for me. I didn't feel safe, secure and stable. Hang jump out of the window at 12 and I'm on the streets of Sydney. And at that point in time, my whole life changed. But looking back on it now and understanding how my parents were built, they were the byproduct of their own environment as well.
Yeah.
And I used to beat up, they're no good. They've done nothing for me and stuff them. They don't love me. When you get older, you start to understand that. And that's going from unconscious to conscious because you're thinking about why did they act that way and but when you're going through that and we're too busy in life, we don't have that time to actually be mindful and go back and look at why your parents were like that or why that happened to yourself. And then when you look at it, how can you shift from it happened to me to happen for me, even in the abuse situation? And people say, are you joking? When I go down that path with someone who's been through abuse in any way, shape or form, they're like, what are you talking about? I said, could you become an advocate for other abuse victims? Show us what red flags look like. 100% I could. So that realization to them gives them power back.
Yeah.
Where their power
They're
is
helping
taken
people
away.
And that's the best thing to do.
100%. And you flip that mentality, create a better reality around your thoughts, your perception on and lens on the world. It changes from negative to positive, destructive to constructive. What a way to live. Priceless, brother. And that's why I share on socials.
So when you were younger, were you kind of like to your parents, and rest in peace to them? They're both passed away.
Both passed from cancer.
Rest in peace to them. When did it like turn in your mind where were you like, fuck yous, like
absolutely,
kind of thing?
man.
Like when did it take all the jail to kind of turn or
Not
like,
really. Even after that, like I'd sit in my cell when that door locked and they wouldn't come visit and I'm like, fuck. Fuck them and fuck the world and all these people who pretend they're your friends. And like we live in that society as well. We go out and a lot of people become friends for a benefit rather than just being a friend to be by his side during those hard times. And once again, Anzac Day today, imagine if we're at war, me and you, we're not looking at the colour of the skin, the religion. We're just worried about making sure we get through and support one another. You got my left, I got the right, and those sort of conversations. What if we could do that in society? And to me, my grandmother and mother taught me some good values as well, as much as I say that I thought they were bad in my own perception during a period of time. Love, kindness, empathy, respect, brother. The greatest race on this planet is the human race when we all get on with each other. And, to me, that's just powerful, man. Priceless.
I'm taking notes off Jeffrey Morgan. I think so many people are going to get some good advice through this podcast.
Thanks, brother.
So
it's been a journey.
Yeah. So when you're a kid, like, where are you growing up?
So, man, probably bounced between houses every 3 months, I felt like. And looking back on it, probably my dad wasn't paying the rent and getting kicked out. Then my mum would take me and then I'd go somewhere else. I swear, like we'd live, I'd drive past with the current partner, Sal, big shout out. Yeah. And I'd be like, oh, look at that house. Look at, I lived there. And she's like, hey, you lived everywhere. And I was just so probably bounced between no safety, no security, no
That
stability.
was normal for you, kind of just like.
Absolutely.
Other people would look at that and go, what the fuck? Like, how did you live so many
Absolutely.
places.
And then the other thing, Dad was a baker, so I'd get, I was about to say rent it out. It was more, I was, with one babysitter one moment, next babysitter here, and same thing. I think it was him trying to pick up some girls in the process, because I always realised he'd end up with my babysitters. So,
Oh, he's dating the babysitters?
yeah, at the time, the mum and dad had split up, and so he'd end up. It was just a toxic lifestyle for him. And I look back on it now, he was trying to get validation that he mattered because he'd split up with the wife or whatever it was. He came over from Austria and he wanted to make something of his life, and obviously became probably not what he wanted to become. And that validation from these women trying to make money through gambling and get a good life, it was just crazy.
Could you imagine back, like, we're talking 20 years ago,
30
years ago.
Yeah.
Imagine, and I sometimes think about this, like the position of, say the position that I'm in or you're in.
Yeah.
But imagine being a male with like not much going on.
Yeah.
And no judgment to anyone, but I think about this and I'm like, I went through a breakup and I was like, fuck, man, this is the end. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Or a situation comes up in life and it's like, I can't fucking beat this.
Absolutely.
And I can't imagine like what your dad or your mum or my mum. I didn't have a dad. Fuck my dad. Like I met the guy for 20 minutes.
Sorry to hear that, bro.
No, but I try and think of like how they would have been. Like your dad was
100%.
Struggling, bro.
And
How hard would it have been 30 years ago?
crazy. And just, he didn't really speak the language when he came here. He learned English and he spoke really well, spoke good English when he got, like, when I was old enough to understand, he spoke great English and he did his best. But like you look back on it, it's just a struggle. And so many people in that same spot. You don't have to come from another country. People do it here. And that was that prison I spoke about. How many people are living in that prison and they just don't want to, they don't even want to step into the men's group because they feel judged or, oh, I don't need that help. I'm tough and I'm staunch and I'm, chest out, pride, ego.
Well, you kind of programmed back then,
100%.
especially like if you spoke about anxiety or depression, you're a little bitch.
Back, like growing up then, my uncle would walk past, slap me so hard, I'm not even joking, and he'd look at me, my lip would be quivering, and he'd say, if you cry, son, I'll give you another one. And he said, toughen up, we're tough, men are tough, and this is how I grew up, having that mentality. And, between him and my father and that abuse of that physical abuse, it toughened me up. So, I'd get smashed on the footy field and I'd jump up laughing and play the ball, And people were like, Morgs, you're crazy. What's wrong with you, brother? And it was being belted for so long.
Yeah.
And I'm when I'm talking about so long, 5 years.
Yeah.
Solid 5 years.
Sorry to laugh in the middle of that. I just thought of you getting up playing the ball. But that's such a traumatic thing that you've been through and it's not normal for a lot of people just.
And then that becomes normal. And as you spoke about the program of life on the opposite side of that, so many go through that and it's so traumatic for them, but they'll accept it. And what you accept, we regret. We were just yarning about that, me and the brother boy that I came here with. And it's just in life, we go through the wheels of motion. Here's the program. And if you step outside that, something's wrong with you. What's wrong with you, Lukey?
Yeah.
Unless you toe the line. And, we live in a day where technology is so available. We've got so much information. We've got access to Harvard University professors as an example. But what we don't have is the ability to take that information and apply it into life.
Where are you saying you've got the access to the Harvard? Like, are you
Online,
saying like online, YouTube,
Google, the whole lot? When we were kids, that was beyond us. So we've got these opportunities. But what happens is we get into the program of life. Don't do this, Lukey, when you're a kid at school. Don't do this by your parents, your partner. I don't know if you can do that. It's pretty hard. And by the time you get to the workforce and uni, you're already shut down. Now they're telling you both it's hard. Don't do that. Don't do it that way. Well, you just crush people, and we go through this life. I think that's where I won as a kid because I didn't have that programming. So I was like, I had to go and get food, water, money, a roof over my head. Otherwise, things weren't going to work out. People keep asking me, when were you an entrepreneur? How long you been an entrepreneur? Like, since I was 12 years of age.
Since you were robbing banks.
Yeah, pretty much, And it shows you how one thing can lead to another. And I thought that was totally normal. we'd meet at the top of Redfern, and I'd obviously had a crew that I hung around for a long period of time, but a lot of the boys would meet and say, "Hey, what are you up to today?" Just like other people, when I say I want to grab a coffee, they're like, "Do you want to go rob a bank?" And it was just totally normal behaviour. I look back on that now, and I'm just like, people can't even fathom. They're like, I can't picture you like that versus who you are now. It just doesn't equate.
I can't picture it either. Honestly, the way you're speaking and the amount of knowledge that you're going to give to the people that are watching this, man, I'm really excited for it. But I can't imagine you. Were you on drugs when you were doing that?
Nah, I've been through periods where when I was in Redfern and drugs were abundant.
Yeah.
But what scared me off heavy drugs, a lot of ODs when the kids we were probably 13.
Yeah.
Heroin came into the country, and it was, there was a big influx, and a lot of people OD'd during that period that were my age. So I was like, nah, that's it, I'm not touching that. Went through a pot smoking period, got chased by a big copper once, and respectfully to the police officers, could have lost a few kilos, and mate, he kept keeping up with me, and I literally was like, and I was like, keep up, big boy, and I was paying out on him.
Yeah.
But after I ended up kicking this fence in and squeezed through this little gap, and I looked back at him and said, "There's no way you're fitting through that, big boy." And I just remember thinking, far out, man, I was so unfit. I ended up giving that period up. Then mother had leukemia and went down the rack period, pill popping, DCMs down.
Your mother or you went through? You went through
mother,
the pill pop.
I went through all that. I went, a couple of eckies, more than a couple, and then obviously that rack period where I was just going out clubbing, trying to manage the emotions and crush, any feeling that I had about losing my mother, and thought it was normal, same thing. But once you get to this point and you learn how to manage your emotions, deal with things differently, it's absolute gold. But what we don't do on social media, I could post a cat running into a window and I'll get 1 million views versus me telling you, here's how you improve your mental health and step away from that inside. And you get, less 100 likes or something.
A high production video as well.
100%.
So much knowledge to it.
And that's what we live in as society. That's the reflection of,
fuck,
right?
I started cracking up about the cat running into the window.
It's true, right? Like you share something like that and it goes viral, and it's crazy. It's how do you mold that? I've had to try and learn and adapt and become young like yourself of mind, I suppose. Yeah. And not lose touch of being young. It's something I don't want to.
Mate, you're doing well at what you're doing. Are you on a bit of tests or something?
Nah, nothing.
You just training?
Yeah, Creo.
Well, he's a good looking bloke. Like, how old are you?
51.
Bro, you're like you're a weapon, mate.
Yeah, and I just take Creo. That's probably the
creatine.
Yeah, that's it.
Fuck, I'm going to buy creatine after this.
I'd recommend it to anybody, and then a whole heap of supplements. Mate, never touch anything on that level as well. I always seen that anyone that got into it couldn't train without it. So it did me a favor. I was like, you'll get the results quicker. But you know what? I earned them, and I feel great this way. Yeah. And I don't need an external to make me feel good in a sense. The training in jail taught me that. Being in jail, training every day, took me away mentally from the space, not being a good father, away from both kids for 15 years in there. Yeah. Being locked up, feeling that your parents didn't care, none of your mates, none of your family were coming to save you. And, so training was... a great mental health tool, and I can't recommend it enough to people. Get out and just start one push-up today, and try and build on that push-up as an example. It's not the amount of push-ups; it's the discipline that you find through doing that action on a daily basis that will help you feel and look this way. Yeah.
All right, let's slow it down because that was a good chat. But I want to go back to you as. So you as a kid, so I shouldn't have watched other podcasts, but how many siblings do you have?
7 brothers, 3 sisters.
That's very crazy. That's crazy because I relate to you because there was 8 in our family.
Oh, wow.
So when I heard that, I was like, so 5 brothers, 3 sisters.
Wow.
So, 4 brothers, and then I'm the 5th one. And
They
then,
do anything social-wise like yourself?
yeah, we all hustling on that
nice.
TikTok.
Let's go.
No, we got my older brother, Wes. I don't know if you've seen him in my videos, and then my
No.
younger brother, and then the
I'll
other
check 'em
ones.
out, though.
Yeah, they're doing the other ones are kind of doing their work or whatever they want to do, whatever makes them happy.
That's the ticket.
But we need to touch on like your childhood, man, like, because I want people to understand what made you like this. So obviously 15 years jail, that's going to make you like this, but
Absolutely.
there's just the childhood.
I think, seeing your parents fight consistently in front of one another, being asked at 10, who do you want to live with? Imagine, like, as a kid being asked that question by your parents, and it shows you how dysfunctional they were, and that's just passed on. Whatever's in amongst them, you're going to get that. And for me, as much as I was a nice person, my mum was a beautiful human, but for me to see them fighting all the time, then go into a community where people are drinking all night, music's playing, you're getting slapped while you sleep, 13 kids on a bed.
One second, so you're getting slapped. Who's getting slapped while they're sleeping?
You just walk past and your uncle would slap you on the face, and just you get up like, oh, freaked out as a young kid.
Yeah.
Don't you cry, and if you're going to be strong, you're going to be a warrior, and you're looking at him going, what the F, man, I'm a young kid. What are you doing? Like,
yeah,
I was probably fearful. Like, no, I weren't probably. I was fearful of my uncle, and as much as there's the fearful side, it also taught me to be tough. It did teach me, like, just life's going to be tough, man. And maybe that's what he was he just didn't know how to tell me or teach me or guide me.
Yeah.
And that was his way of sharing don't be this. And I think that's what his message was, don't be us. Like, I look back on it now, up all hours of the night, 13 kids on one bed, cockroaches, syringes, rats, broken windows, graffiti, the smell I can't ever forget the smell of
13
jail.
kids in one,
on one little foam mattress, first in, best dressed. So if you got in first, you might have got in the middle. I used to love playing out on the streets. I was quite active, so I weren't one of those first kids, and I always usually slept on the side. You'd have people come past, kick you because they'd be drunk and they're trying to step over yourself. And you get.
Was the house you're living in, like, because you're saying people are walking past, like, what, your uncle, or is this is it kind of a trap house? Is it?
As you could call it that.
Was there was there heroin and stuff getting shot up in there?
Oh no, like my family.
Or just partying and
a
having
lot
a
of
piss
drinking,
up.
Yeah. And the music be playing all hours of the morning. I'd go to school the next day busted, full busted custard, and the teacher be looking at me going, "Hey, Morgan, why are you falling asleep? Is it boring to you?" And if you only knew, like,
You've had a massive night the night you haven't.
Well, it was like Bendering, right? But you're a young kid, and that's something that I worry about, because we were under so much stress until I was probably 12, and then sort of started to dictate my own life.
Yeah.
But those first 12 years, man, they were just traumatic. It was like being in a war zone. Police running riots. I remember, 12-year-old kid, you're throwing bricks at police cars during a riot, and they're running down trying to hit you with batons. I'm 12 years of age. So you build this anger towards them and stuff that it's us versus them mentality. And our zone was Everleigh Street, and no one would come in it.
What's this area? You're from Redfern?
Yeah, Redfern. So I grew up in that community. My family's from Walgett, which is 8 hours out of Sydney, but I didn't grow up there. And I didn't know a lot of my uncles, aunties, because of the way I grew up. Even up until this day, I'll walk down the street at Walgett if I go out for a funeral, and I'm like, "Hey, cuz, what's your name?" and try and introduce myself. But that's how dysfunctional and disconnected as a young kid I was. I didn't even know who my family was. And I'd walk past and say, "I'm your uncle, son," and I'm like, "Oh, wow." It's and that's sad. I think that's sad, to go through that. Didn't know who my uncles were, who my mum's brothers and sisters were. I didn't care. I suppose I was so much in survival mode, I didn't have time to sit down and go, "Oh, that's my uncle, that's my auntie." And you got to think, if for kids at that level of life, 12-year-old kids aren't doing what I was doing.
You're already broken. You're kind of broken by
100%.
12 years old. Like, you're wrecked, yeah.
And running away, that violence of the mind, I call it, even there and in jail, like every day you got to walk out in full battle mode, brother. Like you got to, and I'm training to go to the end. In my head back then, and anyone that knew that would say the same thing. I was someone who would go to the end. I wouldn't talk about it, but people just knew, if you want to mess around, I'll go to the end. And I'd train for it. I'd be in that mode the whole time. Who wants to be in that mode? It's like, Anzac Day today, imagine being in a constant war for 15 years or 20 years, whilst I was in custody. 20 years of constant war of your mind. My father died from a brain tumour, and I know that he was always a stress head. That's something that I worry about. I wasn't a stress head, but you're constantly on, hyper vigilant. What's Lukey doing over there? What's that lad doing over there? And you're looking around constantly. Cell door opens, I'm ready to go.
Are you like that still? Do you reckon you're still like that,
There's bits of me that will still, like, the Bondi incidents just happened, and for me, I would have seen that if I was in that environment. I would have just felt and seen that and known that something was up and people running this way, and I would have known straight away.
I actually asked my boxing coach about that yesterday morning, like the way that, you say like the males are getting, so it was like back then it was like you can't speak up and shit, and then these days it's like people are too soft, and it's like, how did that guy actually, like, if I was in that more, I'm not being a hero, but I'm getting temple shots on him, he's knocked out, like where were the males stepping up, We
grow up different, and I look at it, and if there was more people that had stepped up, people go, there was lots of blokes running. I said, they only ran when the copper ran in front of them, the lady copper.
That's it.
And they ran behind the copper. I said, I grew up in a way where everyone's running this way, I'm running that way. Unless it's gunshots, then you're not going to be stupid. You got to make a sound decision. But someone says the bloke's got a knife up there doing stuff.
If that happens in Redfern, there's a whole crew of boys going bang.
And you see
what Campbelltown, like I'm from Campbelltown. I don't want to make this about me, but I'm relating to a lot of the things that you're saying, because my mum was a single mum with 8 kids. It was kind of hustling, fucking cunts kicking you.
Story.
You know what I'm saying? Like
True
mum running
story.
outside going off at some bloke. Like,
mate, and it's normal. You walk up the back lane and people are shooting up. People don't get that. And for you and I, same thing. If I'm at Bondi, I'm running towards that.
Yeah.
And I become bollard man. And even then though, I've got to a level, Lukey, where I'd get there and say, listen, brother, I'm going to give you, like, I don't want any drama. But I'll tell you, if you attack me, I'm going to knock you out with this thing, and I'm going to hit you with it 10 times over.
Yeah.
But how'd you get here? Let's talk about, like, what is it, brother? What happened to you? Tell me. Because in the end, that person's reaching out, screaming out for help.
Yeah.
And I mean that respectfully to those that died, because they shouldn't have died, and it's not great. But at the same time, this bloke, you don't do that when you're of normal sound mind.
Yeah.
Why do you feel dysfunctional? I think a lot of men... Not even a lot of men and women are disconnected from society and feel left out and isolated, like you spoke about, suffering anxiety. People, just to get dressed and go outside these days, it trips me out. They're like, I don't know, I'll see if and they end up cancelling on your last moment, and it becomes a pattern of behaviour. And something I'm really good at is seeing those patterns, and then saying, this person's got anxiety in my head around what's going to happen.
Did you see? Because we were meant to run this podcast a few weeks ago.
Was that,
and I got anxious. Because I had to fly to Sydney to a studio.
Yes.
And then my time anxiety really fucked me up.
Yeah.
So that morning, like the night before, like I mapped out the whole morning, and I went,
no way.
Can't come.
Yeah.
Big anxiety. Like I just want to say that, like, straight up. Yeah, big anxiety around time anxiety.
Yep.
Really messes with me. So like I made sure these boys were here to film the podcast actually 30 minutes before I knew you were getting here.
Love that.
Just to make sure everything was good.
And that will come back and relate to something that's happened to you in your life, and it's for everybody. If something comes up like that, to dive deep on yourself. I call it your invisible backpack. What's in it? Why is that action happening? And the same thing, we look at that Bondi bloke. Why is that action happening? He's gone through these processes, didn't get the support, did at one stage and then dropped off, and obviously it imploded into what ended up happening.
Well, same as maybe him getting chucked on like medication. Like a lot of this, I know the system. I was talking to my mate on the way here, and I was like,
love what you're about
the
to say.
system of like just, jump on these antidepressants and start being 100%. Numb can maybe put you in a manic mode, and
1,000,000%.
Like, it's like all these people that are, and if you need antidepressants, anyone that's watching, like, I'm not a doctor, but I feel like I was on them and I was like, broke so many relationships, friendships, and I kind of like, people say, what do you regret? And that's one thing. It's like being so numb to the world and so numb to people's emotions because you don't have your own emotions there.
I love that. And it's, man, jail gets you to learn people, behaviors, patterns, as I spoke about. And seeing those that weren't on it, that got on it, they became zombies.
Yeah.
And yeah, it numbed them, but it killed their life. Like, there's no life in them.
Yeah.
What was the point? They're 25 but buried at 75. What's the point of living, literally, right? You're just going to go down to the chemist, even when you get out and collect your antidepressants and then sit in your bedroom with anxiety. That to me, or thoughts I don't fit into society. What about dishing out vitamin D, go down to the beach, jump into the ocean, feel good about yourself, exercise, good foods, proper sleep, surrounding yourself with the right people, surrounding yourself with the right thoughts, behaviors and beliefs. And until you do that and work on yourself, everyone I'm going to save Lukey, I'm going to save the brother boy, I'm going to save the podcast man. Save yourself first. That's the biggest thing. Go out and work on yourself harder than you work on your job. Most people work harder on their job than they do on themselves, and that's just a reflection of where we sit in this, this crazy world. If it costs you your mental health, it costs too much. So if it's a relationship, if it's a friendship, if it's your workplace, remove yourself from that environment, put yourself somewhere else. You can, even if you're genetically predisposed to something around depression or something of that nature, by doing all these things, you at least put yourself in the best position. But people will say, oh, I'm this way or I'm this label, and now I'm just going to feed it. I'm going to stay in the room. I'm going to isolate myself. I'm going to take medication, maybe smoke some drugs, take something.
On that note, it's like, so you want to, I'm fucking anxious or depressed.
Absolutely.
But you're smashing a 6-pack of Coronas every night. It's
Hardcore.
like the next day you're waking up fucking feeling that depressed. You're going to not be feeling good the next day.
And
for the next 3 weeks, for the next month. I'm telling you now, if I went and done some snow and a few Coronas, like even 3 days ago, I'm not rocking up here. I'm anxious for a month.
Absolutely.
Like I feel like that really plays into it. So firstly, for anyone that's watching this, and you don't really drink, do you?
Don't do nothing anymore, man. And don't take me the wrong way. We went overseas and Sal, my partner, she loves one drink here and there. And when I was overseas, I'll have a Bailey's or Frangelico, but man,
is that dessert?
Pretty much. You know what I mean? It's like that. It's just like something.
A little drink, but if you're riding yourself off every night and then trying to go, I'm going to get better, it's like, bro, fucking, like you said, 100%. All the vitamin D, the training, all that stuff, do that, remove the alcohol, start listening to David Goggins and a bit of Coach Payne, run on the treadmill, and you're fucking feeling 10 times better.
And the biggest thing, the reason why we don't do that, we'll have the judgment. I'm not going to be as fit as Luke or Jeff or whoever it is, right, that you're looking at. Just look at yourself and say, if I walk down to the gym today and just inquire and sign up for a membership, that's a win. Tomorrow, what's the win? I walk into that gym and I jump on a treadmill and celebrate the little wins. They're actually huge wins because you've got past what many other people haven't done. And if, we just take that for granted. Oh, it's just walking into the gym. No, it's actually showing up and, there's a million other people that want to but didn't get there. You should celebrate that.
That's a big step, for
it's
anyone.
Huge.
That's massive. I want to take you, so where I can remember, because we're kind of chatting about this stuff. We're getting in mad combos.
Love it.
But I also want to learn about you. So we're at 12 years old.
Yeah.
I think you've started, you said that you started to find yourself or started to take control of your own life. I think it was something like that.
Jump out of the window and I'm gone.
When you say jump out of the window, you kind of like tying something to the...
Nah, I just hung, I still remember, hung off the wall and I look at it now.
Like Spider-Man.
Yeah, pretty much 12 years of age. It was decent distance for a 12-year-old kid and hang jump out and that's it, man. No plan, just I'm going to make this happen. And I think that's when people say, when did you become the entrepreneur? Right then. How do you make money? How do you have shelter, food, water, safety, security, stability? So I was starting to create these things, but when you're in survival mode, you're not conscious of what you're actually doing and what strengths you're creating until I sort of came out. When I sit in the cell for 20 years, you sit with your thoughts, man. And
let's try and from 12,
yeah,
where you jump out the window. What are you doing? Like, what goes on there?
I get into a canteen every day, and I can't because I could get into some chips at the time, and I'd only take what I need. That's what
Are you talking about stealing from a canteen?
Yeah, like that was shut, so we'd crawl underneath it. Like me and my brother, and we'd take 3 packets of chips. One we'd eat there, the other 2 would hide somewhere and come back when we were hungry. We'd eat that. I end up finding, and it's pretty sad that I still got to do this. I'd fit my hand in a drain and take money out of this sort of donation space. And I just went back recently and just went, oh, you're joking. It was actually 4 soldiers that had gone to war down at the rocks. And, for me, I want to go back, get $500 worth of coins and throw them back in there for those
It's good
soldiers.
that you're open about admitting shit like that.
Oh, I was in survival. Money's there. My hand fits through as a young kid, and I'd pull the money out and,
We used to do, I know, and this ain't a thing that I'm proud of either, but being open and honest, like me and my brother used to go to a church, and after Sunday, there'd be like a poor box thing. And it's like, you ask God, you ask your higher power for forgiveness, and you try and do the best things that you can in this life. But like back then it was like, you needed food, like it's a shit thing to plan to go to a church 100%. On a Sunday and steal all the shit out of there.
People won't understand that though, Lukey. And I say to people that just heard that story, seek to understand, because they're like, oh, really? What a shit bag, or whatever it is they're going to sling at you as judgment. But imagine a person having to do that or beg on the street or whatever it is. I've sat down with those people and they said, this is what happened. I lost my wife, I lost my daughter, the family hated me. So when the house got taken, they got it and I'm on the streets. Like, why would a kid do that? Do you reckon a normal kid who felt safe in his own home, was being fed in a good, happy family home, would go and steal from the church or me put my hand?
To.
Do you know what I mean?
We'll take a bag of groceries home to mum and go like, me and my brother are like, we've done something cool, you know what I'm saying? But that is the worst thing to be doing. But you saying stuff like that is like, fuck.
I just want everyone to understand this too. When you grow, what you go through, you grow through. And when you get to this point, you look back on the old self. So you look at that kid that was stealing from the church. People go, shitbag, he's no good. But we didn't have the knowledge or experience or support or help or, guidance to be able to make it the right choice at that time. Now we do. So we look back and say, fuck, that was fucked up.
Yeah.
But people will judge us on who we were then. And as a bank robber, it just evolved into these things. 12.
Bank robber.
Yeah, like honestly, Luke, I swear, I look back on it now. I still didn't even, when I was doing that stuff, I was thinking, I just need to survive.
Yeah.
I got a family and they need to have money. And this is how, it was so daunting for me to go and get a tax file number, just like you coming to meet me for that podcast. Yeah. Same thing, brother. I was, the anxiety, our biggest thing was our MIN number, which is your prison number, 212788. I'll never forget that. In New South Wales. For me to be able to be in that position, you've got to understand we're just flipped in our mentality. You're running from a lion and you tell me your goals, dreams, aspirations, you're like, fucking get up this tree and run for my life. That's all we're worried about. And then yet people, and this is where society disconnects and, lock up these kids and throw away the key. What about if you gave them some love, kindness, empathy, respect, give them a cuddle, make them feel valued, make them feel that they matter? You actually get a different outcome. And if you've got judgment, it means that you must have the solution where you're morally right or you know what respect looks like. Pass it on to this young kid, because I can guarantee the environment you grew up and I grew up didn't happen if you're in a church and I'm sticking my hand through a drain. Stop judging people and start getting into helping one another.
Yeah. You might have, where was I going to, no, I won't bring that up. Okay, so you're leaving at 12, you start stealing.
Yeah.
From 12 to, when did you go to jail?
Probably 13-ish, probably for
the next year you're in jail?
Juvenile justice, within a year, because obviously you're on the streets and you're in survival mode. And I found a box of frogs, bunch of money, started breaking into shops, understanding that money would be in the shops. Then found a safe key and realised, how could we distract the shopkeeper, get the safe key, open the safe, take money, lock it back up? They wouldn't even know. And then we developed this thing called searching, and it was something I was,
Sydney searches?
Well, I was my
There's
original.
a song about that, yeah.
Yeah, so I was the original, and and for me, that was, I got someone to distract someone, and we created a crew called Partners in Crime. Graffiti gave me identity now, and my graffiti tag, I became a very well-known graffiti artist. A lot of people don't know that side of the story,
Yeah.
and basically, that was your identity, searching and graffiti, and that gave me girls, that gave me money, that gave me hotel rooms that were, penthouse as a young kid. You can go in a shop and make 20 to 100 grand out of the back of a shop, distract the shopkeeper, walk out, no drama. Easy. Travel across Australia doing it, happy days. And then you transition from that to ram raids, luxury stolen cars, Porsches, M3 BMWs, that sort of stuff, RS3 Audis, going out doing late night, burglaries, duty threes, shops anything that you could sell, I suppose, warehouses, stocks, and all of a sudden become known for that, and the identity is getting stronger and stronger, and everyone that, Jeff Morgan, you're feeding it without feeding and realising it. You're just like, this is how I'm surviving, and the more notorious I got, the more I rolled on. From there into bank snatchers. For me, snatching money off bank counters, we walked past the bank one day, look in, there's a whole heap of money on the counter, I'm like, reckon we could snatch it? He's like, I reckon we could do that. And that leads to that sort of...
How old are you at, like...
14 to 16 during this period.
Fuck, so you've left home and then just started...
all out.
Entrepreneuring this fucking...
And you'd walk in and we'd have a little signal, bang, snatch that money off the counter, and it could be, it depends on how it was bundled up. They were bigger notes back then, so you couldn't grab as much. You'd grab as much as you could, but you could get 30 grand out of one of those snatches and run out of the bank, happy days. And, I ended up serving 3 years for that. We'd done about 8 bank snatches in the one day.
So from 12 to what age are we here?
16, I reckon.
16?
And then 16 onwards, it starts to go into the really serious crimes and, doing high-end burglaries, other stuff, bank robberies and, things of that nature.
Can we get into the... So you've served, at 16, did you serve 3 years or?
16, I served 3 years. During that 3 years, I'm not smoking pot at this point in time. I went through that little period, but I don't touch it. Shake a bloke's hand who's going, getting strip searched, take a bag of pot from him. I get back to the unit. They go, mate, strip search. They find a bag of pot on me. And I said, we know that Luke gave it to you, right? The bloke I walked past. Yeah. I'm like, nah, it's mine. All right, we'll charge you. If you don't want to dob him, no worries. Charge me all you want. Go to court, Lukey, and I get sentenced. And as I'm walking back to the cell, the prison officer, the corrective services bloke goes, you know where you're going, right? And I said, yeah, back to Penang, which was a juvenile justice centre. And he goes, nah, mate, you're going to jail. You just got sentenced as an 18-year-old, 3 months for a bag of pot. Who gets 3 months for a bag of pot? Anyway, that's a whole different story.
Well, because you're in the prison system, it kind of...
And because I had that record and so forth. So I go straight from there to Long Bay, serve the 3 months, and then come back to juvenile justice to finish the 3-year sentence. And that's, any hope that I had was just crushed in that sort of... I felt like I was doing year 10 and 11 there. Yeah. And I did half of year 12 and then got out and finished my year 12 after that. But during that period, I was really trying to have a crack and sort of just... 16, I was having this realisation far out when I got locked up. Is this the life you truly want? And I started to become conscious. I started to sit with myself and go, could you make money just like everybody else does? Why do they drive a Ferrari? Why do they live a good life? Why do they live in peace? How could I do that?
So wait, you're 16 and the courts back then could go, all right, you're going into the big jail.
Absolutely. No, I was 18 by the time that offence happened.
Oh, and then
so I was on the back end of my sentence, and I'd done so well. And there's a real 360 story in amongst that. We come out of a basketball stadium. We're playing representative basketball down at Alexandria. We come out and we're all walking together, and they used to, go out and assault people at that time who, and I mean this respectfully, that were gay. And
who would?
In the area, it was a thing.
Okay, yeah.
Especially back then, it wasn't, and the boys are like, what are you doing? Come with us. My partner pulls up. I go, I'm getting in the car. They go out and they commit an offence. They were all private school boys from the area. Their families were trying to give them their best life. They get locked up for that, and it was only because they were in Mount Penang at the time. They said, Morgs, come and study with us. If they hadn't got locked up for that, it's quite ironic. I cut, so I didn't get charged for the crime. I wasn't there. And they basically end up in a position where they were serving 15, 20 years. I don't know. I can't recall.
Who, the private school boys, right?
Yeah, and they were from our area.
What, for bashing the...
They ended up killing a man that night. So, ironically, and I share that because, like, you look at those sliding door moments and how close I came to doing something which I would have regretted forever. I wasn't that sort of person. Unless you crossed the boundary and came into my space, I'll do what I needed to do. Yeah. But in general, it was only because they got locked up that I actually did an education, and that education was one of the sum of all things that helped flip and change me. So it was like, I don't know, the universe looking over me in one sense, but may that person rest easy too, because it wasn't a good thing.
Yeah, so the 3 months where you get locked up, when you go to Long Bay, that's a big turning point in your life.
Huge.
So
massive. Like, now you're not scared of the system, Lukey.
What do you mean? Like, so the 3 months, it sounds like that was a big turning point, but then you serve another 15 years.
I served, so I did the 3 months, then I did 12 months for a stolen car, John Laws's Porsche, sorry, John. But literally got chased across the Harbour Bridge, and unfortunately they had blocked the bridge off. We went across an island at speed, got a flat tyre and had to jump out, jumped into the fish markets down there. Who jumps into the fish markets? Late at night, swam across the thing, thinking I was sweet, and at the last moment get fished out by the water police. Now I know what a fish feels like getting caught. That's what I was thinking. And mind you, they got this shot of me. I had these sort of Hawaiian type shorts on, no shirt on, nothing. And you think I thought it was so cool. Like, oh, what a great shot and what a great story.
Yeah.
Twisted, bro. Just twisted. And it builds the identity of who I was and who I am, and the strength of what happened in between. Because a lot of people sit in that destruction but never ever fix themselves. And people can judge me all they like, but I actually, to be able to have a global business, have some clients like Ministry of Health, the Department of Defence, even the police force reaching out saying, hey, how can we help domestic violence within Aboriginal communities? How can we help youth justice? Like these kids, that's priceless. So, and it speaks testament of who the transition in between those two. But yeah, like that jail just flipped me 3 months, because now I'm like, fuck it. So the
was that
3
a good
months,
thing? Like, were you like, all right, 3 months, I'm gonna get out of there, and then.
And I did my HSC when I got out,
okay.
So I actually did well. I went back to school, did that, and then I got into a position where I look back on it now, got locked up for that 12 months, got out again, and after that I lasted for about a 7-year period, which is unbelievable and I was committing crimes relentlessly.
What were you doing in this? So in the 7 years, you're still hustling, doing your thing?
You name it, I was doing it. And I was a good networker, so I knew whether it was bike clubs, whether it was people doing X, Y, or Z, I was able to connect people, and I was the in-between, and I was making a lot of money, loving life at the time, thinking it was good. Ended up doing a bank robbery. I wasn't meant to be there. Long story short, ended up serving 5 years for that bank robbery and got out for 6 months. Went down to Melbourne, robbed another bank, got locked up down there and served 7 years for that. And that's where life just flipped.
Is that 15 years all? So you served 15 years all up by the end of that?
7 and 5 is 13, 12 months.
Oh, all around 14, that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like juvenile justice 3, 17, and then like you do 6 months here, 12 months there, 3 months here.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I'm not trying to add you, but you've served your jail by this time. Like it's all done with the banks. So, firstly, I think you brought this up. What's the craziest thing you've done? You said no one's ever asked you. What's the craziest thing you've ever done? Look, I want to hear it now.
Probably I can't talk about it, to be honest. I'll put it that way, but I can say this: I've been shot at. And like that's pretty crazy. I think that's pretty
by police
normal,
or by
let's just say we
You
got
can't
shot
say.
at.
Yeah, that's it.
It's and more than once, numerous times, and it's like a matter of inches. I had a mate during that period, the Ram Raid period, who got shot in the back. They were breaking into Stratfield car radios, taking a whole heap of stereo equipment, loading the car up, goes to dive in the back, gets shot in the back, paraplegic, and to this day, he's still in that position.
By a cop?
Yeah, by a cop, and nothing ever came of it, and I think he got some sort of payout for it, but in general, that's how close that could happen. I could have been that person wheeling myself in it.
Yeah.
And many didn't make it, where they smashed stolen cars. People got caught up in bank tellers and actually choked and died. So
What, robbers?
Yeah. So
was it just a very normal thing like bank? So like
Even
these
that,
days, if you say you're a bank, well, you can't actually rob a bank now. I don't think.
Unless you. I think it was one of the. That was when I talk about the sum of all things. I started to recognise bank robberies were on their way out, and too much technology, too many cameras, cars with trackers. Police were putting trackers, voice and camera inside the car, and you wouldn't even know. They put in a clock, exchange the clock, put it in there, and record you. And that's how my co-accused, who kept going down the pathway after I got out this time, 2010.
Yeah. Respect
to them, and I wish them all the best in their lives and what they choose to do. But they kept going, and they got arrested, rammed, I believe, by the SOGs or TRGs, I think it is here in Sydney, and pulling out of the car, bank robberies, armour guards, and they're in the process of going back to court, I think, coming up soon. But they've been in and out on this sentence. They're serving, I'm pretty sure, 19 years with 14 years on the bottom.
What? So they're still doing it up to these days, 2024?
They're out on bail at this moment as we speak. And big shout out, and I hope you all do your best with your lives. And I'm here if they ever want to change their life. But I've drawn a line in the sand and I've stepped away from it. But it just shows you how fickle or crazy all those sliding door moments are through one choice.
Well, it sounds like they're programmed, those guys, whoever they are. It's like they're programming, and they're not really going to get, maybe when they get out after 19 years, they might go, yeah, fucking time to change.
A lot of people, we don't look at I call it a skills audit on yourself, because you go, I can't do that. I can't become a millionaire or something of that. I don't know how to do it. Of course we don't. If we don't know how to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But being the champion of being a beginner, you just step in and say, I'm going to have a crack and see where it takes me. And that to me, I had to tackle what you spoke about before, the anxiety, the fear. So perception correction, change your language to change the outcome. Anxiety, I'm actually excited by this opportunity. As an Aboriginal man, I'm excited by the opportunity that my ancestors fought for me to be here today. Pamway, big shout out to him as an example, for me to be able to carry that warrior spirit, not only for my people, but for human beings, and help us all just live peacefully together. And speaking about that before, we can all go at each other. There's so much division in the world. What if we just focus on ourselves? And you want to get tattoos? I don't. You want to follow that religion? I'll go, I don't want to be religious. Respect that person. Let them, when you try and project it onto somebody else, that's where it becomes a problem. So if you go, you should be doing this or you should be doing that, it's up to yourself. Live the greatest form of yourself, and if you don't, then beat up on what you're not doing, and what can you actually do, and how can you replace that beat up into an action that creates the reaction you want.
And that person that's trying to change that person, I feel like they're the ones that might have the issue deep down
100%.
below, and then they're kind of go, oh, you should be doing this, but really just work on yourself. Go back to working on yourself, becoming a better person.
Flick it out there, that 99.9% rule I spoke about. If someone wants to pick it up and run with it, they'll find that they're overthinking and they'll get past it. But if someone says, stuff you, I don't need to listen to a bank robber as an example, I wish you all the best too.
Yeah.
I'll cheer for both of those people, whatever they choose.
So I asked you what's the crazy thing that's happened.
Probably John Killick's helicopter escape too, being there during that. I was on the Oval. So, like, literally...
I've seen this on a current affair, bro.
Mm.
So what?
Oh, Johnny, big shout out to you, Johnny.
What did this? So the wife or the girlfriend?
Lucy Dudke.
Fill us in. Explain what happened.
So I'll tell you a funny story. I'm on the phone in the pod. We're in pod 11 of the MRRC, which is the Remand Centre at Silverwater in Sydney. And Johnny, I'm on the phone. Johnny comes down. Morgs, I need the phone. He goes, don't let him lock the door to the Oval. I was like, yeah, whatever. He wants to get out to the Oval and exercise. So I got my foot on the door and it's beep, 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 beep. It makes this noise. And they're like, let the door go, Morgan. And I'm like, fuck, hurry up, Johnny, hurry up. Johnny's looking at me. He's on the phone. He's obviously called her and say, hey, darling, yeah, they got their probably code word going. Yeah, it's sunny days. See you soon. Bang, goes out to the Oval and chopper goes around a couple of times, lands over behind the fence, and you could hear it, and then it came back over the fence. We were playing footy. I scored a try down in the corner. I'll never forget it. Walk back up there. We walk back up. I'm next to the brother, and we're talking. And I said, this chopper, man, that was low as, eh? And we're just having this yarn. Johnny's on the fence over on the side here, and I was the closest person to Johnny. I literally had thoughts, if you jump on that chopper, people will never forget your name. But my whole life, I didn't want to be known as a criminal. None of my crimes were ever in the paper where my identity wasn't suppressed. So and that tells me I was doing it for survival, not to be a gangster, I didn't care about that shit. I was like, nah, fuck, I don't want my name in the paper. Yeah. So I thought about it and I went, nah, fuck, you'll be splashed everywhere. I'm comfortable with that. Chopper lands on the Oval. Johnny walks off the fence. He doesn't even remember this, just like froze his jumper, like blowed his joint, sort of jumps in the chopper. The prison officers run over. Johnny gives them a little bit of a scare and with something. I'm pretty sure he would have got charged for all of that anyway, but in general, they take off. The chopper turns around and I'm thinking it's too heavy because it was going like this, up and down, up and down. But what it was doing was trying to turn around so it could take off. We didn't know. I was thinking, oh, fuck, it's too heavy now. Must be a two-seater, and he's jumped in and
yeah. He didn't get on the scales before he was meant
yeah, I know, true. Like, and then, mate, next thing, where I was, the tower's, in one position, the chopper's here, and I'm in between those two. And then next thing you just hear bang, 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 and it's distance. So, this bloke starts shooting at the chopper. And I think that's probably one of the craziest things I've been involved in. Like,
mate, that's fucking
it was
amazing.
and when I say this, Luke, you could hear it hit the chopper, tink, 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 and you'd hear like the difference between the chopper and the ground. And I was just waiting. In a movie, you see it just blow up, and then the chopper blade comes and cuts you in half. Like, I'm literally going, what the fuck? And do you move while you're shooting, or do you stay? Like, we're probably 50, 100 metres, not even 100 metres, 50 metres away from that chopper max.
That's a famous even story close. In Australia, and you were sitting there for that. You watched that happen.
By this stage, all the people would come out because the pod's back onto the Oval, so you could actually see the Oval. Anyone that would be at the Oval, you'd go out, hey, John, how are you? Hey, that sort of thing. So they'd all heard the commotion, ran out, and the fences were just filled with inmates. It takes off, and everyone's like, ah. And then as he takes off, 3 Black Hawk helicopters come straight behind it. It was just before the Olympics, so they were doing obviously drills and stuff, and but they took out the transponder. So mate, obviously they didn't get any sort of inkling that something was up. But you would have, I don't know, especially the army, thinking surely they'd realise something was going on in the middle of the jail, and a chopper takes off. But
Did the guy's girlfriend hijack the helicopter?
Yeah, just pulls
went
out the
in
gun.
there. That's a solid chick. If any chicks want to do that for me in the future, I want land in my inbox. You know what I'm saying? That's a good chick, man.
Man, she ended up serving I think 8 years for that. So she got a fair whack for it, and they never ended up together in the end. So it wasn't a love story. It was probably a good movie love story that didn't go right. But
I started thinking of this guy chucking his jumper off, running to the chopper.
He had it here. He went like this, and it's just like. And I said to him, "Do you realise that you did that?" He goes, "No, I don't remember that." I said, "Mate, all you were thinking about probably running to the chopper." But I don't know why he took his jumper
railing the bird in the chopper.
maybe he's thinking about that getting caught. I don't know what he's thinking, but he took the jumper off through it, and I said the way you did it was like blowed his joint. But nearly killed myself in a jail cell was another one. we used to cook up in this jail cell, and then you'd send the food up on what's called a line. So you'd get sheets or stuff like that, tie them together, plastic bags, drop it down, put the food in the plastic. Yep, sweet, take it up, Lukey. One night I was being a dickhead. I lit the line up, and I go, yeah, the food's coming up soon. And, you know, the old prankster yourself. I light this line up. It gets out the top. I go, you got it yet? He goes, no, is it on? I go, yeah, it'll be coming soon. I'll put it on soon. Gets up to the top. He goes, fuck, you know, because the fire obviously hit his hand.
Yeah.
He drops the thing that I've lit up, and out the front of my cell was one of those plastic bins.
Yeah.
Fucking just lit up, and all the black smoke's coming into the cell, and we're on the ground at the deep stages of this. I've got a towel, I've wet it. I'm sitting there, and I could feel the smoke starting to fill my lungs. We've pressed the thing, and as you can imagine, there's no speed racing there. It's just like, oh, what's going on?
Oh, someone's a bit, yeah.
Fuck, man, I'm thinking we're going to die in this. And literally like a movie, I could feel the smoke going into my lungs. Then I see the door fling open and light come in, and it was just black, the cell, black plastic smoke. And then, to this day, it probably done some serious damage to my lungs. And
kids don't do pranks.
And in that same sentence, I was the first person. I thought about this the other day. Never spoken about this, Luke. First person to have a phone in the jail, and I didn't have a mobile phone because they weren't out then. But what we found was a portable phone up in this demountable. I bore the portable phone. I take the old school, digit phone. I connect it up in the unit. And I hide it in the TV at the time, pull it out at night, plug it in, and I had to flick the switch every night in the office. Hey, Chief, is there any sugar or something? Yeah, and when he turned his head, bang, flick the phone back on. And I, every night ringing up some chick, talking dirty and all of the above. It was the first time anyone ever had a phone in the jail. I was thinking about it. It would have been the first time anyone had phones in the jail. Someone pointed it out the other day, and I've forgotten about it. But I had that for a good period of time, and then someone dobbed me in because they come in and they go, Morgan, where's the phone? And he goes, we're going to walk out of the cell. We'll be back in half an hour. Put the phone in. We'll sort this out. I was like, fuck them. They can find it. They couldn't find where the phone, but they came back in. Oh, actually, although they came in and they opened, I had the light. I had this little key made up. Yeah. Took the light out, ran the cord through that, plugged the phone in, and happy days. But just crazy times, you look back on shit like that.
that helicopter one, I can't believe.
Insane,
because I've watched that. I've watched that doc. There's like a small documentary on it, isn't there?
There's a book on it. There's a documentary on it. And Johnny's doing a lot of crime books now. So big shout out. You want to hear that story, read that story, look up John Killick and his books. And
that's his name, yeah, John.
He's doing a whole heap of series. He did Russell Mance's. He did Ronnie Isherwood. He'd be a great bloke to get on. His stories are insane. I read his book. Had the highs and lows of crime and everything in between it. But he's a very well-rounded human being now. He's just a champion human who's changed his life, helping people going through drug and alcohol. A lot of the men that have been through it, we were just built wrong. The programming was wrong, and we've come good, and we're putting goodness back into society.
I think a lot of I kind of look up to, like, when you said Russell Mancer, and rest in peace to him. Like, we actually, one of my whys for this podcast, I haven't said it yet, is because I wanted you on. No, so the plan was, and I said this on live with Russell. I said he was going to be my first guest on the return to the podcast.
Oh, wow.
And then he passed away on my birthday, a few days later. So we're on TikTok live, and I had this different kind of thing with him where on the lives I would my team knew, like, the battles on the lives.
Yeah.
So as soon as Russell come on, it was kind of like this. You pay the utmost respect to him. You don't obviously I'm sitting there battling and doing my, trying to go, yeah, team, it's all good. Like, Russell just always wanted to have a mad chat over the last 4 years. And that's one of my whys for the podcast. Just want to put that out there, is because he was meant to be my first guest back. And then with you boys, you're putting out such a great message of crime and all this shit. It's not like you can tell your funny stories, but it's not the way to go.
Nah, it's it.
Like 15 years in your life has been in a jail cell. Like that.
20,
that's
20, near 20.
20. That's
Yeah, near
not. That's not worth it.
Nah, like people, even Spaniard said on his podcast, I was hood superstar. And I always bring that up because that was the perception that, and he'll tell the story. He was in the yard. If there was one lad that you do crime with, who would it be? Something along those lines. And, Jeff Morgan. So,
Did you do jail with Spaniard?
No, I never did jail with Spaniard, to be
honest.
I didn't know who he was. I'll be straight out and honest.
Yeah.
He was younger generation.
Yeah, okay.
And I mean that respectfully, and I was locked up for the last, 12 years of my criminal life. Realistically, I was out for 6 months of that.
Yeah.
So I lost contact with a lot of people in that time. Who was who in the zoo, even Redfern. I weren't a part of Redfern technically for that whole period of time.
Yeah.
There was running riots, the whole lot back then that I weren't involved in and a part of. But I just look back and I look at, that whole journey, and I just, we want to put a message out to these younger kids. I know why they do it, because it's true. And they say, I see Hood Rich doing some stuff now in the hood, and he does it really well. He's asking, so what are you doing? He goes, how else are we going to survive? And you hear these young kids, their parents have never been anybody, and I mean that respectfully for those from those areas, because I was one of those kids. We just don't know how. Yeah. And once you know how, and that's what I said, fuck this, I've had enough. I'm pulling myself on, and one of the programs I run is cut the bullshit. Stop bullshitting to yourself. And the funny thing was, I did it to myself, but then realised corporates, soldiers, athletes, they do the same thing. So it wasn't just those from, Campbelltown or Redfern, or these, Mirrabooka in WA or where Logan in Brisbane. It was everywhere. And you can go anywhere, and the things we tell ourselves hold us back from the life we want. And then people will sit there in judgment of these other young kids who just don't have the role modelling. Ask yourself, if you're so good, why, if you want to be a millionaire, why haven't you done it? Because we have fear or anxiety going down that path. We know we've got to do all that work. Congratulate people like ourselves, Russ, who did the work to start to flip themselves. Yeah. I'm not saying Russ was perfect either, but we were trying. And I'm constantly trying, and so he was. And
you're putting out a very good message. A lot of you boys that are doing the older generation, and I'm sitting here thinking as well, like, I don't want to be that guy that's trying to tell you what to do, but I reckon you need to speak to Andrew Tate, the way he sits there with his brother and just chats. Absolutely. I feel like you could be that guy in Australia that instead of doing like short form stuff like Russell was, which he was starting to blow up on.
He was killing it.
You could sit there with, I don't know, with your missus or with your mate and just chat, like just love constantly have that content going out to the younger people. Don't like inspire, like Andrew Tate's, like he's a machine, you know what I'm saying? Like I like what he says. Everyone clips him up short form and goes, oh, he's a fucking, they roast him. But I feel like you could really put out a good message if you just had someone like,
absolutely,
if you're putting out long form content constantly, I reckon you're the guy,
idea.
Bro. Yeah.
I appreciate it, and I'll take that noted and definitely run with that. Because, look, like you said, there's good and bad in everyone. You can go, Andrew Tate said some unbelievable things. Yeah. And I've shared some of his stuff, and they're like, oh, you support him, and tell me that you haven't done something bad yourself in your life, buddy. And then they sit there and go, oh, yeah, I have. I said, so we've all been there. And, it's your level of knowledge or experience at that point of time in your life. Chapter 5 doesn't look like chapter 55.
That's it.
Unless you don't change it. And a lot of people, that's the craziest thing. People will live 75 years of the same day and tell me they're living. You're not living, going to work and paying your bills just for the sake of. Go in and, because if I say, what's your ideal life look like? Oh, I'd be traveling here, I'd be doing this, I'd be flying in a chopper there. And I say, well, why don't you do that? And I go, oh, that's a dream. That's if you tell yourself it's a dream, that's the only thing that's going to come of that. Yeah. If you tell yourself, I'm going to make that a reality, just like I did as a 12-year-old kid, I'm going to find food, fucking it will happen. And probably quicker than you think it will, because most people just operate at this capacity of this. Yeah. Put in more than you actually put in, and within a year, your life will change. And that's, for us, being able to travel over those 9 weeks as an example, and a whole heap of holidays coming up, working holidays as such, priceless. If I can do it after 20 years, destruction, dysfunction, drugs, alcohol, all of the womanizing, all of the above, and become a better person. Yeah, true story, Lukey. Like, and you know, that was, as men, justification of how good am I? I'm, you know, this girl wants me. I must be pretty. I must be good. Or validation, and then high five the boys. Me and you. Hey, look this blondie, or look this is last night. Or that's just normal behaviour. But it's us seeking that, trying to manage that anxiety that we feel. It's because we lack identity or knowing who we actually are and what we want from life. Yeah. You do that and flip that whole perspective on life, and watch the game of life come to you more often than not.
It just happens, doesn't it? All right, so we'll tap into. So you've done your prison.
Yeah.
Where are we at now? We're kind of
2010. I come home. 14 years home now. Gratefully, global business. We tackle mental health. Leadership.
So you get out of jail, what, 2010?
2010.
And then that's when you start all of your business.
It just started up.
That's where it happened. So you've been in the game for a bit.
Yeah, I but I'll go down a path of, I'll do a nutrition degree in jail. Yeah. I come home, I become a trainer nutritionist. 2016, my brother commits suicide. 2018, sister commits suicide. And I've already lost my parents by this stage. And
sorry to
I sort of flip out of the 2016. I start to get out of PT and dabble in mental health. And I go down that path of mental health, leadership, but most importantly, mindset. A lot of people, you know, as a business, you say, you do mindset. People are like, oh, fuck, that's wishy-washy.
One second. So 2010, 2016, PT nutrition. Yep. You're a PT.
Yeah, I'm in a gym at that point in time. 2016. Brother commits suicide.
Are we missing? So just in the gym, training, doing like easy. We'll glide across that one.
Back to back. 5 in the morning to 9 at night. Yeah. Every Monday to Friday, 8 to 12 on a Saturday, making thousands.
Yeah. Just PT.
No life, Lukey. No life, okay. Man. I went to Ivy and literally, and you know, I'm still in the recreational drug side of things here and there.
What, a bit of coke or?
Yeah, trainer, the Ackies. Like, I'm telling everyone, live a healthy lifestyle.
And you're still partying, doing the bullshit. Still
partying. That, and this is that misalignment that a lot of people sit within their own life. And when I'd be there, there's trainers, and even to this day, some of the most well-known trainers, influencers I know, they're like, Morgs, you want some? I was like, no, bro, I'm all good. Yeah. No judgment, you do yourself, but is that what you really want the alignment of? And it was a good friend that taught me about courageous conversations, because we're sitting there on the bags, and he's like,
that's when your conversation comes. That's when your courageous conversation comes up.
And he goes, Morgs, can I say something to you, bro? And I go, anything, brother. And he goes, bro, you're preaching all this stuff. It's when I first came home. He goes, but then we're sitting on the bags, brother. Yeah. And I was like, fuck.
It's all fake bullshit. It's the biggest bullshit. Like, and people will say they'll come up to all these business plans and ideas and be the most anxious person the next day. So
crazy. And the thing, and now I see the pattern, Lukey. For me, I snapped out of it. I went, I'm done. I'm good with it. Wish you all the best. Pushed the plate aside, literally, like, it tripped me out. And I just walked out and said, I'm done. Wish you all the best. Haven't gone back. And I'm no judgment, but we go and that's trying to deal with an emotion. That's trying to get validation. All the boys around us, all these girls in the room.
That gives them confidence. Good. Yeah, that's.
I was up here on the Gold Coast, penthouse. I never forget. Ton of girls flew from there to the Barrier Reef, wrecked. I'm trying to rack up in the helicopter.
What, Hamilton Island?
Mate, no, I flew out to the Barrier Reef and mate, I'm busted. They go, oh, no problems. I've been on the rack for 3 days, no sleep, and I put on this scuba diving gear and like could have killed myself.
Kind of makes me sick. It kind of like
made me sick.
I don't. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean, brother? But what I was telling myself, it was okay. And as much as people think this is a drug conversation, this is the same thing. People are doing this in society, not where they're on drugs, but they're feeding themselves bullshit. Yeah. I was like, fucking life's good and magical. Full of shit. And the same thing, until we pull ourselves up on that shit, we feed ourselves. I'm good, but your bank account's empty. I'm good, but your emotional tank's empty. Whatever it is, right? Yeah. Because we just got too much pride. I'm not going to tell Lukey I'm struggling. Fuck that. Yeah, bro, fucking life's good, bro. I banged this chick. I done that. Want to rack up on the weekend or whatever it is. It's all bravado, brother. Yeah. And then I just went, fuck, there's a misalignment who I project as Jeffrey Morgan on social media, but most importantly to myself and who I actually want to be. And I went, fuck that. I'm going to drop the rest and bridge the gap in between. And no judgment to anyone. You live your life. I'll clap for you if you're bending every weekend, if that's what you want to do. But I want to ask people what's really behind that action. And if you're not stepping into your goals, dreams, aspirations, not even bendering, where you just, people are going to look at me. I don't, my family reckon I can't do this. Society don't. Why aren't you doing it? Get out, have a crack, and just see where it takes you, because that's what I did. And, it all flipped in that 14-year period. Yeah. We're a global business now. Mindset's the biggest one we deal with people, but it's sort of wrapped up because of the way society wants to around mental health and well-being and
Before
leadership.
we jump into that, sorry to cut you. So 2016, this is where you transition into the whole mental health thing.
Absolutely.
And your brother passes away. Can we, let's kind of dive into that.
That was around that time where I had these conversations. Fuck this! I've got to get out of this life, because so it's been about a long period of time where I've just went, nah, I'm sick of that bullshit. I'm feeding myself. I start to step away and go towards mental health. I'm doing these talks, going out to schools, young kids, youth justice centres, and I went, wait a second, how many talks did you do this year? And I go and add it up. I go, shit, that could be a business. So I start to do PT in the park here and there, plus that. And it was a good lifestyle, but, a lot of freedom, a lot of time, and I'm still making thousands of dollars. But I'm like, how deep do you really want to take this? And do you want to impact one person, or would you like to impact 1,000 people at one time? And I was like, let's go down that pathway. And that's where we've headed, and, into a global business, brother, and going into communities, health services, professional sporting clubs, Department of Defence, national programs, designing and frameworking those programs are priceless.
So it's not all for just Indigenous people; it's for everyone.
Everybody.
Everyone.
Yeah. And we don't get me wrong, we've got the Indigenous side of things, but I just realised when I was doing it, I started with the intention for our people, growing up the way we did, seeing what I saw. They were trying to deal with trauma their best way. But then I realised, shit, this is a society thing. Like, you can ask blokes that play professional sporting teams, I won't mention who or where, but in general, are you, who's a leader within this group? And they're all looking at each other like, they're looking at the captain. And I'm like, that's where we sit as society. We don't believe that we're a leader of our own life around what we actually want out of life. These blokes have made it to a professional team. They're all leaders. And they're all out on the field talking to each other. That's leadership. But we're disconnected with the belief that only the captain can be a leader. And the same thing in life. Only someone that's got $1 million or someone that's a community leader or something of that, a celebrity can be a leader. Any single person can be a leader to their own life.
Yeah.
And when you accept that, then you start to create the life that you want. You design it, not just accept it.
Fuck,
totally different.
Taking
Priceless.
a lot out of this one. I love this chat, man. So from 2016 to now, is it all just the business?
2018, we sort of transition into just mental health. I'm like, that's it. We're going to do community programs, and we're doing like 4-week programs, 6-week programs, 10-week programs, going out doing motivational speaking and those types of things, national suicide prevention conferences. And every time I walk away, I'm like, fuck, it's good, but
needs to be bigger.
What's the first step, Lukey, that I spoke about? And you're like, I don't fucking know, but it was inspiring, brother. Yeah. And so
I still think putting that in people's minds is very important, and you're doing an amazing thing. I think definitely a conversation I had with my mate on the way here as well. We're actually talking about Anzac Day.
Yeah.
Then we actually went into like the Indigenous, what happened
crazy
fucking years ago. I can't really.
We were just talking about
I've been learning. Like, so me 5 years ago probably knew nothing about. So in history, in school, you don't learn anything about what happened. I can't say too much on it, but I have been to these Indigenous communities. I have, like, I think like all this shit, like I'm kind of that disconnected from the world because it's that messed up.
Let me ask you this. Name a person that was, any war, name some sort of person that was famous.
No, I can't.
No one in any war?
You know what? I
any
know
war
there's,
in history.
there's people that like I'll probably say that
about,
have done some bad shit.
So did you know Hitler as an example?
I was about to say Hitler.
Yeah,
He's done bad shit.
So you know Hitler, right?
He was a dictator.
Name the first warrior that fought for Aboriginal people because women and children were being raped and murdered.
I can't. I can.
I
There's
mean-
no warrior, but I can definitely. I love the footy boys that step up and do the, like they step up for the Indigenous people, like
Love
Latrell
that.
Mitchell, Josh Adokar.
They're doing great
I've
stuff.
actually done a mistake, and I'll address it here as well.
Yeah.
I actually went to the Invasion Day with Kate. I used to hand out beers.
Yeah,
And I went to, like, it randomly happened, but it
Yeah.
happened for me to learn.
yeah.
And
It really
I had
does.
Latrell and that call me up, and like, because I made a mistake, I went and handed out alcohol at
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Invasion Day
Yeah,
because I was just driving, the YouTube was going,
yeah.
and I was the guy that handed out beers.
Yeah,
I seen this whole gathering. I go, yeah, sweet.
Went in
Worst
there.
backlash I've ever had. And now from that, I've
Yeah.
travelled to Uluru. I've travelled.
Seen
I've
that,
went and
seen
talked to elderly people
Love that.
from the Indigenous community and stuff like that. And like as I was saying to my friend on the way here, it's like your thing about the war.
Yeah.
I don't even fucking know if the war was like real. Like what was the motive behind that? Did
Yeah.
someone set that up? Like there's all these conspiracies, but then you go back to who was the first person to speak up and say for the
Crazy.
Indigenous people, and like even what's happened in like the outback or all over our country.
You got the war memorial, and they got no names of Aboriginal warriors who fought for women.
Yeah.
Like, let me explain this. The commotion that went on at Bondi, respectfully and rightfully so. When it comes to Aboriginal people and what happened there, we don't carry the same energy.
Yeah.
Why is that? We're all human beings.
Yeah.
And that's where people can say, fuck, you know what, I'm actually racist. Because why isn't the energy the same? If I went and did something to a woman and a child, I'd be the monster of the Gold Coast, right?
Yeah.
But when it happened,
Thousands of people.
and just before anyone thinks, oh, this bloke's just beaten on, watch Australian Wars by Rachel Perkins. It is the true factual stats and journals of Captain Philip Arthur Cook when they were here and what they were doing. The Queen was written a letter saying we're taking the land and all that. Proceed on. So it's all factual now, and people can read and hear and listen to that and watch that series, 3-part series. Unbelievable. So it's not from an Aboriginal person's perspective, it's from the journals of the first settlers.
Yeah.
So no one can argue and say,
But
oh,
even if it's if it's from an Indigenous person, that's the best thing. Like, speak up and let people know about this shit, because me, in my high school, I didn't learn this shit.
We learned
I was
about Hitler.
taught, okay, NAIDOC Day, do some dot paintings.
Crazy,
Where's the serious conversation that actually really happened in this
No one wants
country
to have it.
it's fucking
When we
disgusting,
pass
man.
this series on, I pass it on in socials. They're like, do you have any evidence of that? Yeah, here, watch this series, right? And it's all in the archives of the Australian government, right?
Yeah.
And that's where they've accessed these from and then passed on this series. And people, when they watch it, they come back and go, oh, fuck, I was crying. And I can't believe we were lied to in school, which means they hit it. And to this day, they talk about bringing our country together. You look at the referendum and how much split we are, and it's not.
It's all created for divide.
100%.
It's still just divide.
That's a whole different convo, but
Yeah.
just so everyone knows, you can get involved in the conversation by educating yourself. The problem we've got, most people don't even educate themselves how to get themselves fit. That's for them. Now, I'm expecting Luke to go and research Aboriginal culture. It just won't happen.
Me, I actually do go and
Yeah,
research.
but
I
mean,
like it, yeah.
I mean, most people, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
if
yeah.
I gave you that series, just share it amongst people, because it is the true facts.
Yeah.
Women sitting on the beach with a daughter, they come up and shoot her in the back of the head and a kid. Let me tell you, if
We've
I
got to
did that...
We've got to mute that. That was, yeah. We've got
Oh,
to
yeah.
cut.
It's
No,
pretty...
no, yeah.
Do you know, like, it's graphic, but let's be real about it too. And when we get to that point in time in general, where we get an understanding of how atrocious it was, and these warriors put them up in the war memorial. And, you know, I bumped into a bloke when I was in Cairns a couple of years back, Luke. This is how sad it is. And he goes, hey, you're that fitness fella that I had the TV show in 2014 when I came home. So I was been home 4 years,
Yeah.
had a TV show, Jeffrey's Healthy Tips. And he goes, you're that fitness fella, eh? we start yarning, and he goes, "Oh, I was an Anzac and that. They're trying to give me this medal." And he showed me the articles, up in Cairns. They were trying to give his medals like 4 years ago, brother, something like that. It might have even been less, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And, how long after? And he goes, "Don't worry about the medal. I don't even want the medal."
Because he learnt about...
He was Aboriginal man. Like,
okay,
we
gotcha,
celebrate,
gotcha.
and this is this divide again. Well, I respect the Anzacs that fought for our country, right?
Yeah.
All of them that died, whether it was right or wrong, what was the story behind it and how did it start. But in general, I'll pay respects to everyone that fought. But as soon as it came to the black soldiers back then, they couldn't even walk in the pub with the blokes that they fought side by side for. The publicans would refuse them because they had the black side and the white side. And it's not long ago. It was my mother's generation. So you've got to understand that's been passed on and it still sits in amongst some people. But we can be a better country moving forward by seeking to understand.
Yeah, the conversation as well.
I'll give you the link. You can put it up in your podcast.
Yeah, definitely. We'll chuck it in.
And it's all factual and it's all governmental. So no one can sit there and go, "Oh, Morgs is just cracking on about Aboriginal people." I'm talking about Australia being a better place.
Yeah.
Love, kindness, empathy and respect like my grandmother and mother taught me. That's how we should treat other humans, period.
I reckon Jeffrey Morgan for Prime Minister.
Oof.
Would you ever do that? Is that something that, how do you get into that?
A lot of people have said to me, like, "You should go into politics," and I just don't know about that, Lukey.
I think it's you, bro.
I might be involved in some. I reframe that. I've been involved in a lot of framework and policies and conversations.
Yeah.
Had a conversation with one of the prime ministers around how we could be better as a country. Recognition, it's Anzac Day, right? But you got people that murdered and killed people, women and children as statues in major parks around this country. It's just insane. Think about it like that. Yeah, the soldiers that stood up for them women, just like everyone wanted someone to stand up at Bondi, Pemulwuy, Mosquito, no one would even know their names, brother. Yeah. They're not in the War Memorial. There's no statues of them. Let's just get together as a nation and find a happy medium where the reality and the truth is spoken. And that's, no one wants to speak it because it's so dark. And as you said, I've got to remove that.
I've got to remove another 2 words you said, but it's it does need to be spoken about. I'll chuck this one out. Whatever goes on, it's going to get posted. Yeah. More conversation around it, and I've been learning. Even going out to, we won't keep going on about it on this podcast, but even Uluru, it's
life-changing.
It was a magical place.
Beautiful,
very magical place. And I went and spoke with. I actually had to travel to the Aboriginal elders and find them to talk to them, because I said this on my story, and I said to any Indigenous person on my story that wants to go out and look at Uluru, they got a camp, because I'm not paying for accommodation, but I'll pay for your flights to go and learn what's going on out there. Because even as bad as this is, they've got Fijians flying in, all of the workers. They're actually trying to say that they're Indigenous people, which they're not. They're Fijians, man. They're not fucking. You know what I'm saying?
I stayed at the same place, and it's just.
It's a big bullshit thing. It's whoever owns that and that. I seen it all, and I was like, "Fuck off!" I want to get out of here.
If any environment that we put ourselves in, Australia, your workplace, your teammates, your relationships, how can we be the best version of that? And the best version is through the truth and authenticity and that love, kindness, empathy and respect and all of the above. Just a priceless journey, brother.
Yeah. Okay, we'll finish off with you're doing your business, man. I want you to promote the fuck out of your business, whatever it is. I want, we'll chuck the links down below. Probably won't. You remind me, please remind me. But yeah, you've done so pretty much the last from 2016 or 2018 to now.
Probably we sort of dabble. We're still training, and then the COVID hits, and for us, we just we're going all in. Yeah. We build the program, and we go out now. These corporate well-being programs, obviously financially, it helped us be more secure for longer periods of time. And now we've realised the consistency of long-term programs. So we do 1 year, 3 year, 5 year projects, all around your mindset, mental health, well-being, leadership, resilience, high performance habits, healthy lifestyle practices.
Yeah.
So we could do that one day with a corporate program. It could be IBM as an example. Next day we could be out in an Aboriginal community. Next day in youth justice. Next day in domestic violence. Next day around mental health, suicide prevention. We realised, why are we getting all this traction from different businesses or different niches? And we realised that it was human behaviour, how we shift, how you think about yourself. So that's, that mindset level. Everyone will be built through their formative years, life experiences and so forth. So we were able to go back. Lucas, tell us about your life and where you started, and go through what's your happiness look like, what's success look like, and start to build that roadmap and framework to the life you truly want.
Yeah.
And we help you design that. And in a corporate space, they become more proactive, productive. Their financial return of investment becomes higher because there are less sick days, those sorts of things, versus a sporting team being able to focus when shit gets tough in a tough game and win those tough games, as an example, into a health service where their quality of life for the people and information around how they think about things, because most people, they're just dishing out medication.
Yeah.
How can we teach them to start to love themselves? What are your thoughts around loving yourself and flipping that? Juvenile justice centres, how can we role model those kids to see things differently? If you got a skill, how could you do a skills audit and still say, oh, you know what, I've got perseverance, I've got commitment to myself. Let's change that from destructive to constructive. And that's where our business sits, building better humans, changing, saving, redesigning, realigning lives.
That's awesome,
Priceless,
man.
brother.
So from 2018 to now, you're pretty much, you do your travelling around, you do your business. You're not going back to jail anytime soon.
No chance, brother. No, never again, man. And I don't recommend it to any person that's caught up in that game. Reach out to me and have a conversation, but I'll draw a line in the sand if you come across, I don't want to know about your crimes or what you're doing or what you're up to, but if you want to shift out of that life, we'll help you even on that level. And to go the same thing, one day you're talking to someone stuck in that life, next day you're talking to a high-performing corporate, next day you're at a professional sporting club. It's just an insane life for a kid who threw bricks at police cars for a living.
And rob banks.
True story.
Okay, to finish off, what's the next 5 years bring for you? What do you see? And
love that.
And also just what's the next 5 years?
I always had the goal to get 1,000 people employed. There's 500 different language group, 500 different tribes throughout Australia. I want to get 2 people, male and female, from each of those communities to step up and become role models for our program. But to do that, you got to be living, breathing, teaching, preaching that. So 1,000 staff helping our community, then rolling that out into the corporate world as well. Obviously, having more staff on board, building a forever home. That's very soon. We're in the process of doing that. Deck out the whole bottom floor, gym, recovery centre, podcast room in there, cinema down by the ocean somewhere.
What area are you thinking in Sydney?
Definitely.
Well, up at Dover Heights.
Imagine young
Better start
Aboriginal
saving,
kid. Aboriginal. Oh, look, we'll be along the water somewhere, Lukey, and especially in Sydney, and then have one up here, probably on the Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast.
Yeah.
Travel between both. YouTube, I'm really going to go down that path of trying to build that more to share the gold nuggets that someone's life could be saved from that. Someone's business could be created from it. Those sorts of relationships built with yourself, with society, build better societies, take away racism, help people build better humans, build leadership into individuals, and see people actually go out and travel the world. The end goal for me in the next 5 years is to be traveling and seeing summer pretty much
all year
round. Yeah. And that, vlogging that whole journey and getting you to unpack your dreams and making that a reality process is going to be good, bro.
I think you don't even need a vlog. I think you need a setup like this.
Yeah.
And someone sitting next to you, start writing notes down and just address it every day or 3-4 times a week.
That's an awesome idea.
It's like Andrew Tate. Whatever he does, he just floods content out, and then that's where your message will go from here, which it's already massive because I've seen it so much.
Yeah.
I reckon you'll step up.
I'll take that. And this is the thing. Sometimes people get caught up in, you. You're not telling me what to do.
I am telling you. No, I'm just
your pride and ego gets in the way and blocks it, right? But you're a younger kid. You're killing it on socials. What could I learn? If that's the recommendation, let's roll that out. And if that's how we can get what I'm passionate about at your mother's age out to the world, let's rock that every single day. And
I'm going to send this podcast to my mum.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I think
tell mum to get in contact anytime.
Yeah.
Not like,
why'd you laugh like that? Watch out, bro.
He wants to fight me.
No.
Nah, mate. If
I just think that we're programmed, you guys were programmed so badly, and then for you to come out the other end. And my mum's definitely working to better things.
Absolutely.
But there's always, you can always, even in like 3 years, you can change. You can do a complete 180 in your life
100%.
and just fucking change everything.
If you ask that question to other people, what's the next 5 years look like? They go, I'm working at this workplace, yeah, and I'll get up early, pay my bills, and life's good. But I say, if I gave you unlimited money to do the life you want, what would you do? And they go, I'd travel to here, the pyramids, and I'd fly in a helicopter, I'd drive this car, or whatever it is that you want in your life. I'd find peace in the mountains, hiking every day. Go and do that. Yeah. And if you say, oh, that's not possible, it's not realistic, it is realistic. You just got to find what you're passionate about and what works for you. You've done that. I've done it. There's many others that have done it. We live in a day and age where technology is king, and use that technology to create the life you truly want. It's out there.
Yeah. And also with your, when you said, oh, you want to, in the next 5 years, you want to have a recovery center, gym, like that's the main focus.
In my home.
You can go and travel. Home. Yeah, you can go and travel to the pyramids. You get there and go, they're the pyramids. That was fucking cool. Like it's done.
Absolutely.
You can go and get a penthouse with 10 girls. Okay, I've done that. Life becomes like really fucking boring really quick. So 100%. The first thing that you want a recovery center, you want to be training, you want to be looking after your mind, you want to be employing 1,000 people, like that's a fucking 5-year dream. Not, oh yeah, I want to look at the pyramids. That was cool.
I'll give you the biggest one. You ain't anybody until you're you. Right?
That's it.
And what that means is the strongest version of yourself. What we try and do is go into a shopping center and buy something. In 5 years' time, whatever you bought fucking will be meaningless.
Yeah.
Meaningless. Could be your laptop, could be a camera. You want to update it, you want to do something. Because, as you said, you've lost that drive for that, whatever you bought. Go out and fucking create you. And if you create you, you're stuck with that for life. Not, it's not a product that you bought from now the new iPhones come out. I'm going to change it, otherwise I don't fit in. This clothing that I'm wearing now, 2 years from now, it's going to be pointless. I'll give it to the homeless. Does that so we put so much into the external, like me. Look at the clothes I'm wearing. Look who I'm hanging around. Fuck that shit. Hang around yourself more often than not. Work harder on yourself than you do your job, and watch life fucking go to a whole new level.
That's fucking awesome, bro.
Let's go.
I was about to ask, I was going to say, we finish off with you giving someone, like whoever's watching, a message. You already done that. That was fucking amazing. Where does everyone find you? So promote your, Instagram. It's all going to be linked below.
Yeah. But Jeffrey Morgan on all social media. jeffreymorgan.com.au, JEFFREY. Even people in media and so forth, they spell my name wrong. It's not that hard. And in general, Primal Warrior. We started this group, Free Men, 150 years worth of dysfunction, destruction, bad choices, into a constructive and a safe, strong space for men to be vulnerable, strong. And our motto is where men become warriors, getting back who we used to be, riding up on that horse with your sword nice and high, going out into battle. And life's a battle, and go out there and crush it, man. Be that strong man. Run towards that person, not away from that person.
Prime Minister Jeffrey Morgan, future Prime Minister. Thanks for coming on, my bro. That was fucking awesome, man.